Hello, and welcome to the Voyage Within podcast. I am your host, Brittany Jackson, and I specialize in personal development and how to live an authentic life leading from your heart. If you have been here with me before, I am so happy that you're back, and if you are new, welcome. I love being able to come on this platform and share about where I'm at, what I'm going through. And in return, I have heard feedback from my listeners that they have resonated with something that I had said, or they are going through the same thing. And that's what I am learning that this podcast is for. That is not what I originally had planned for this podcast because I wanted to feel good and I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to come on and say, hey, I specialize in this topic and that topic, and let me teach you about this and that. Oh yeah, look at me. I know everything, right? But really what this podcast has turned into is I'm in my humanness. I'm saying I'm not perfect. I don't know what I'm doing, and I show up each day the best I can as I try to figure that out. Last week's episode was me sharing about my uncertainty with where I am in life, uncertainty of what this podcast was transitioning to. And I've been trying to wrap my head around all this new in this new chapter I'm embarking on. On the other side of last week's episode, and this week, I feel really good. I feel really empowered. I feel very present with myself and at peace because I'm really starting to see what has been in the way of me getting the outcome that I desire. And it is definitely my perfectionism, my validation seeking. Some people refer to it as people pleasing and wanting to control how my listeners receive whatever I am putting out there, when in reality, I have no control of any of that. No matter what decision I make, somebody will disagree. Somebody won't like it. And I understand in reality that is okay and that there is nothing wrong with that. But my perfectionism inside of me is like, oh no, I want everybody to like me, to understand me, to support me. In a past episode, I had explored vulnerability and I had shared about my past experiences with bullying. This has created a deep wound of wanting to fit in. But the truth is, the freedom is in not fitting in. If I'm not looking at what everybody else is doing or what everybody else wants from me or what everybody else expects from me, and I am just me. I just am authentically, vulnerably, honestly me. Even if no one gets it, even if no one likes it, that is where freedom lies. Through working through this perfectionism and showing up as my best self, I have been able to show up each week totally authentic. I had written scripts on topics or outlines that I'd wanted to go off of, so I had a safety net, so I had structure, so I could make sure that I was delivering the best to you. But each time I would show up to this podcast with that script, I would think, this feels inauthentic to me. This is not where I am at. For me to authentically share with my listeners, I have to talk about what's going on with me currently, what I'm really feeling, what I'm really thinking, and what I'm really working through. I had been talking to my friend last week, and she said, maybe this podcast is a place where you need to show up and talk about the things that you need to talk about. And then whoever else needs to hear those things will show up and listen to those episodes as well, versus me trying to conform to a topic I think other people might want to hear, or I think I might feel like talking about. Scripts and outlines work for some people, and it is a suggestion in the podcast world to develop that, so I stay on track and I don't ramble. But it is something that feels inauthentic to me at this time. So embracing who I really am and how I really want to show up is just sitting here on the mic, heart to heart, saying and thinking and recording anything and everything that comes to mind. This is you and me in an authentic conversation, and I wouldn't have that any other way. And conversation is not perfect. We show up and we try our best. We try to express ourselves on what we're thinking or what we're feeling. And there are times if someone else was sitting in front of me, I would have to be a little bit considerate of maybe some things I was saying, right? Because we do have to consider how the receiver is receiving our messages. But since I am sitting here all by myself on a microphone and these messages could be going to anybody, there's no real anybody to consider in particular. So all of my listeners will receive the messages that I give in all kinds of different ways. What I can hope for most from all of this is that you know that you are not alone in this world going through these things and these struggles. Because the truth is, in the real world, a lot of these conversations aren't really had about what I'm really struggling with or what I'm really trying to work on, how I'm trying to overcome an issue. Usually, you only hear those kind of things in support groups, which I have background and experience in. And I am so grateful that I qualify for a lot of those support groups so I can experience this culture where we go in and we share our truth vulnerably, honestly, and anonymously. We trust one another that enter those rooms to not go out into the world after and repeat anything that we have said. And that sacred space is an incredible space to have. How many people get that in their lives outside of therapy? Therapy is a great outlet as well. And maybe if you're religious, maybe you go to church and you connect with religious or spiritual figures on subjects that you know you can trust them with. And maybe you have a close friend or family. For me, when it comes to friends and family, is that they have biased experiences of me. They're too close. It's too personal. Either they love me so much that in their eyes, I can never do anything wrong, so I'm not getting honest feedback, or they're afraid to ruin our relationship or hurt me, or they may project how they feel and what they want and what they think because they just are too close to me. It's too personal. Versus these outside spaces that we can bring ourselves to, those are usually non-biased or safe spaces. There's also life coaches too, if you need a space like that outside of this podcast. As I'm stepping on the other side of this perfectionism I've been experiencing, I'm able to embrace and accept more of myself for who I authentically and honestly am, and I am letting go of the outcome. That is the biggest key, is I cannot control the ripple effects from each thing that I do in life, but I can let them go. I can have faith and trust that they will evolve into something good and even better than I could ever even imagine or try to control. That's where having faith and trust in our life is important, because there is a lot that we have no control over in our lives. And the more we try to control something, the more anxiety we get, the more we are at war against ourselves. As I am trying to fight my perfectionism and control everything and manage my environment so I feel safe and secure at all times, I was losing my well-being in the process. That is exhausting, to try to control everything or everyone all of the time. Because the truth is, if I'm sitting here worried about how my listener is going to listen to my message and receive it, and I am trying to adapt my strategy or the way I truly want to show up to accommodate them, that is actually manipulation, right? I am trying to manipulate how I am received so I am liked and accepted. When instead, I can have my own back, I can have this relationship and this experience with me, and I can show up in a way that is best for me. So regardless of the outcome of people that listen to or enjoy my podcast or not, I can enjoy the journey along the way. And that is what the journey of life is all about. Because we all know how fast life goes by. And the more important thing is, how do I want to spend that time? Even if I only had 5 more minutes to live, how do I want to spend that? I know for me, I want to be comfortable. I want to feel like myself. I want to be authentic. And I want to enjoy and be present in each moment in front of me, no matter what that is. Even if I'm doing sit-ups, focus on that. Focus of the gratitude of my abs and my body and being able to do that move. And I use that as an example because I don't know if many people enjoy sit-ups, but no, not my favorite thing in the world. But if I were to be doing them right now, I would still want to be present with them. I want to be present and I want to be intentional in everything that I do. That is the most important thing to me. So going into this week, it will be my 6 years of sobriety anniversary on this coming up Sunday, the 15th of September of 2024. So tonight, I have been asked to be of service and go into a rehab and share my experience, strength, and hope about what the journey has been for me. I will be sharing my experience in life before I picked up substances, during the time I used substances, and how life has been since I stopped using substances. Today, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety about that I'm going to be my true, authentic self in front of a room full of people. And I was really reflecting on that. Like, why are you so anxious? And the truth is, because I have no control. I have no control of the situation, of how I'm going to show up and how people are going to respond. I can do my best, and my best has to be good enough. Where we have no control, we have so much anxiety. Why is it so hard for us to let go of control? For me, I'm realizing because I don't have trust. That's a trust issue. If I let go of control, anything is possible. Anything could happen. And when I have trust issues, I fear the worst. I fear the worst thing that could happen in every situation. So therefore, I try to control it. I try to show up perfect. I try to do everything right because I am in so much fear. Versus when I have trust, I can let go and have faith it'll all work out. And that helps me overcome things. There was a situation that happened on my last trip in Iceland a few weeks ago, and we had booked an excursion, and an issue ended up coming up where they wouldn't let me do the excursion because they had found out that I have asthma. And the company said the tour guide has the right to turn people away if they don't feel comfortable having them on their tour. But they also wouldn't give me a refund. So I had lost out on that money. So I realized that I could have a resentment about that, and I could sit and worry and fear about how I lost out on that money. And poor me, right? Self-pity, that's not fair. Or I could have faith that it's all going to work out. I could have faith that for whatever reason, I wasn't supposed to do that excursion, and also have faith that my higher power in the universe will not only find a way to return that money to me, but will also give me so much more. So in that moment, I decided to have faith because fear isn't the good option for my well-being, being in stress and worrying about what may or may not happen. So I had faith and I let it go. No issue. It is what it is. Learn something new every day. And then I get home from that trip, and then I have all of these work opportunities coming up again and again and again. And really right now, I can work or not work as much as I want. So having that faith resulted in a positive outcome. So really, rather we're suffering in control, perfectionism, anxiety, it's a choice of perspective shift. That's why it's important to be able to stop, pause and reflect on ourselves on what is going on with me. Where am I operating from right now? Why am I so affected? Why am I so triggered? And look into what's going on with us. But we have to have the discipline and the awareness to catch what's going on and to also evaluate and take that time and space to investigate. Once we can do that, then we can make a choice. Do I want to continue to spiral into anxiety or the struggle, or do I want to let go? And do I want to trust and have faith and love that all in the world will be okay at all times? We come from a culture that loves to focus on the drama and the insanity of everything that goes wrong all the time, or everything that could go wrong, or everything that we need to work on or fix, or what more you could do to improve yourself, because there's this messaging like we are not good enough. Our life is not good enough. The world is not good enough. But what if it's more about what we make it? What if we choose to say, I am good enough. My life is good enough, and the world is good enough. And I'm going to have trust and faith in everything today. What would our life look like if we made those kind of decisions and had that kind of faith? So as I prepare to go into a room of some people I probably do know and some people I don't know, and I stand up there and I share the most vulnerable, intimate, honest parts of myself and my experiences, the depths of the lows I have been to, and the highs I've had along the way from my achievements, and all of that in between, where life maybe doesn't really make sense and sometimes may not feel good enough. And there's just this discontentment, right? Because there is this middle space between the highs and the lows. I was asked to do this and be of service to help other people. It is just to show up, the power of just showing up and being honest and authentic. And if we lived a life more that way, what would life look like? I would like to ask you some reflective questions. Feel free to pause and journal or just think on these questions to yourself. What are you trying to control in your life right now? How does it feel to try and control whatever this situation is, or maybe all of these different areas that you are trying to juggle? What would your life look like if you let it go and you allowed it to be? What if we allowed things to be what they are instead of trying to define them or project or predict or define or control? What would life look like if we allowed ourselves to be, we allowed others to be, and we allowed life to be what it is? If you can't find the beauty in this moment of who you are and what your life looks like, you never will. It's not about just getting to that next goal, achieving that next achievement, because once you get there, there's always going to be something else. So how do you celebrate who you are and where you are today? Now I'd like to say some affirmations. Feel free to repeat these out loud or say them to yourself. I am all that I need to be. My life is exactly where it should be. There is nothing wrong with me or my life. Everything is what I make it. Today I choose love, peace, and presence. I'd now like to say a prayer for you. Please feel free to invite in your Mother Earth, your Father Fire, God, energy of the universe. Dear higher power, I pray over the listener listening to this podcast episode on this beautiful and glorious day. I pray that they see how beautiful and wonderful they are, just as you created them to be. I pray that they stop resisting themselves, their life, and others. I pray that they are able to accept who they are and where they are and what they are doing. I pray if any changes need to be made, that you will do the work to prompt them and let them know in a way that they will understand, and you will help lighten their load along the way. And if nothing needs to change in their life today, I pray that you offer them peace and acceptance of all that they are and all that they will continue to be, because life is a gift, and we are so grateful for it. Amen. Wow, I loved that. I loved just being able to talk to you about anything and everything that I wanted. I am so grateful that I am finding me. I am finding my flow in this of how it needs to be. And I really hope that you get something from this, because that is my biggest purpose. If I could do anything in the world, it is to help others along their journey. So if you love showing up and spending this time with me week after week, please make sure to leave a review on whatever platform you are listening to this on, and please share this with a friend. I pray that I can help whoever needs to hear this, because you matter. You matter to me, and I love you. Until next time, live well and be happy.